We're a couple minutes past the hour. We still are having a few people join us, but let's get started because we really want to talk with you, and they can join us and we can talk with them. So good day, morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're located. I hope that today finds you safe and that you, your organizations, your teams, your family, your friends are all healthy. These times are certainly very interesting. We, as an industry, have a choice to make, and we can wait to see what happens and respond, or we can take advantage of this time and direct our own future. And that's what we hope to start today, to talk with you as our customers, as the people and businesses we greatly value and have had trusted relationships with for years. My name is Jennifer Doctor. I'm the Director of Product Management for the Intrusion team here at Johnson Controls, and I thank you for being part of this virtual conversation today. And during the next almost hour or so, several members of my product management team will be sharing some information and asking you questions about what you feel and see for the future. Where do you find value? These questions are one way we're trying to enhance our engagement with you during these times when physical distancing presents up new challenges. And this is a way for us to stay in touch and listen. To be honest, we should be doing this even when physical distancing isn't our challenge. We need to have more of our conversations. And while it's wonderful to see many of you in person, we need to do more of this on a regular basis just to stay in touch and go. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us and what we believe will be the first of many steps on the journey. So diving in, I want to take kind of a look back at where we are. And for the next 45, 50 minutes or so, if you have questions, there's an opportunity on the right to submit them. For example, we already have one about who from the PM team. They'll be introducing themselves as they speak, but I've got 3 senior key members of the team with us who are very knowledgeable about the market and the products. So we'll be able to address what we hope will be most of the questions. But just submit your questions on the side here, and we'll do the best to answer either as we go or at the end. So I want to start this time by kind of taking a look and understanding of where we are. Now, the Security Market Index is a survey that's done bi-monthly. What I'm showing right now on the screen was the survey presented at the beginning of March. And we see that overall, the participants had a positive outlook. There was an index of 50, which on this survey, the range is 0 to 100, and they regard anything 50 and above as positive. You can see that over 60% said they were confident in their business conditions being good or excellent as they looked forward, and that the same over 60% were positive in that outlook overall, saying that they thought there would be no change to an improvement moving forward. So the security business at the beginning of the month generally had a positive outlook to where we were headed. But remember, this was all prior to the COVID-19 pandemic spread that happened several weeks ago as it left the isolated areas in Asia and Europe. And at the same time, when we were looking at our challenges, the challenges that the industry saw was, again, very much related to some of the traditional challenges we've had, whether that's around not having enough people or the cost, whether it's around the competition or the economic conditions. These top 10 challenges that we're showing on the slide right now are very similar to what we've seen over the past, I'm going to say at least 7 years. But my guess is it's longer. I've only been in the industry 7. So I know since I've come in, these are the similar challenges that we need new technology. We're getting strong competition, that the regulations have changed, and we just really don't have enough people coming in to help us meet the growing demands. So when we look now at where we are, and we see that we had at the beginning of March, when we did this study, when the index was created, it really was too early to tell what the real impact would be. But we are now seeing some issues throughout the supply chain, manufacturing, and sales. And we're seeing this globally. We're seeing this with all size businesses and everyone within the chain. And the last research that was presented, or research that was presented several weeks ago, showed that it was still somewhat split, that we only had about 40% said they'd be significantly impacted, and 60% said it'll be minor to no impact. It makes you kind of wonder, when you're looking at everything that's happening, what you really think is going, now that we've been living this longer and this concept of our physical distancing has been happening longer. We want to understand a little bit more about, how do you feel this is changing, and is this impacting your business? So I'd like to ask you to take a quick poll, and has the social and, I'm talking physical distancing, or any of the government mandates that are happening, has this impacted how you're conducting your business? I'm just going to give you a few minutes to answer this. Give you a last couple of seconds because votes are still coming in pretty quickly. Okay, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to close this poll, and I hope that this does not surprise anyone, but 100% of the people here have said that what's happening now absolutely is having an impact. So when we consider what some of that impact looks like, what we'd like to understand is, some companies are introducing DIY or self-installed through a guide solutions to overcome some of these physical challenges. Has your company introduced any of these methods in response to the COVID-19? So let's just take a minute and take a look. I'm watching the poll numbers come in, and I can tell you that it's kind of funny, because when you see them, I'm seeing the same split between yes and no, but they go up by 1% or 2% or down by 2%, depending on the vote. And it's kind of, for somebody who took a lot of statistics courses at university, I'm kind of enjoying watching the numbers change and thinking of implications. Okay, so I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to share these results. And it broke probably the way that I thought it would, where about a third of the people do have a solution that they're using to try to overcome these challenges, and 2/3 don't. So when I look at this, that leads me to a question about, do you think that these activities are temporary, or do you expect that your actions around the self-guarded will continue post-pandemic? So let's just take a quick poll here. Going to give it another minute, another couple of seconds, I'm sorry. Okay, it looks to be kind of stable. So I'm going to close this and share. And you'll see that most people are saying that this is going to be offered as an alternative, and it's created a channel that will service new customers and remain. So it's interesting to note that 18% of you actually think that this is something you're only going to continue until after the virus pandemic concludes and we go back into our new normal. I find that just an interesting thought. So what I'd like to do is take a look at where we're going with these solutions and ask my colleague Curtis to present some information.
Hi everyone, I'm Curtis J, Intrusion Product Manager at JCI, working on Jennifer's team. Over the past few years, we've seen an increasing number of DIY options enter the market with pretty rapid success and growth. A lot of this is based on ease of use, attractive designs, and pretty high marketing budgets compared to the traditional industry, but it's also mainly due to very favorable direct-to-consumer pricing. On the other hand, there are definitely well-publicized quality, reliability, and cybersecurity concerns about some of these systems. During this pandemic, with physical distancing being so critical, DIY options remain a pretty attractive option for customers as it's easy to install without having someone visit your house, and DIY options are expected to grow their market share. As an opportunity, we may need to consider professionally installed yet more affordable systems or other methods of install to compete in this market. In addition to hardware costs, consumers are extremely wary of monthly fees and are always looking for a lower price monthly solution to try to lower the total cost. Price sensitivity has been prior to the pandemic and is likely to be an even greater concern after the pandemic. We would definitely love to hear your thoughts on the effect of the DIY market on your business. And so we've got a poll here on the impact of DIY systems on your sales prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Just keep that in mind as you're answering. All right, I see the answers coming in. Right after this poll, we do have a similar question about after the COVID-19 pandemic, so just keep those answers in mind. Okay, so I think we've got most of the responses in. So most of you are voting not at all or moderate decrease. So it looks like not a huge impact so far, but definitely some impact. Following this up, we've got a second poll about the impact prior to the pandemic. Sorry, after the pandemic. Okay, so we could probably cut that one off as well. So pretty similar to the previous question, it looks like everyone is expecting it to basically remain the same or continue moderately growing. So not too much impact expected after the pandemic. With that, I'll hand it over to one of our other product managers, Neil.
Great, thanks, Curtis. Well, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Neil Evans. I'm a senior product manager in the Intrusion team within JCI. Pretty interesting stuff regarding the impact of DIY or self-installations or simplifying installations. What I think we really need to take a look at next is, the overall impact of interactive businesses, regardless of whether it's a DIY or professional installation or some hybrid of that. I think everyone would agree that really interactive, that's what's driving a lot of our business. And one of the more interesting things is what we're seeing is the majority of customers are actually starting to look at smart home offerings as a lead, and as opposed to just like a security type of system. So the one really good thing for our industry is that that's really driving a lot of RMR for the business and a lot of incremental RMR that we may not have seen before. So we see an average of about 33.7% of the actual monthly RMR coming from partners is being driven primarily from smart home or smart business solutions. So it's really interesting that really has replaced a lot of the traditional market. So really what we want to kind of wrap our heads around is we know what that's been like up to this point, where we have seen a transition to more of a smart home, smart business type of application. But with the physical distancing and everything else, do we expect any impact for that? So really, we got a couple of questions here that we wanted to share with you guys, just to kind of get a better understanding as where we're going, of where we see the market going in regards to what kind of automation, what kind of smart service we're looking for. So the first poll you see, just really the traditional Z-Wave lights, locks. We know historically that's been one of the more dominant portions of it. So what do you guys think? At post-pandemic, is that still going to continue? So what we'll do is we'll give this one about 30 seconds more, just to kind of speed everything along here. So we've got several questions here. Just get an understanding as far as, do you guys see that this is going to be still one of the basic fundamental requirements? So just looking at some of the poll results, actually transition a little bit. So we'll give it about another 20 seconds or so, just to try to get over 50% of the people voting before we share it. Okay, I think we can end it there. Let's share the results for everybody, please. So to be honest, this is a little bit different than what I was expecting. So must have 39% and nice to have 56%. So still the vast majority of customers you feel are going to be looking for that kind of control. Historically that was one of the leads. So that kind of leads us to the next question that we have for you guys. And that has to do with when you're doing any sort of automation, are the scenes important, the scheduled events? Is that still something that people are looking at doing? Are they still focused on really automating their home and business? So same thing as last time, we'll give this one about a minute or so. We'll try to get minimum 50% of everybody voting, just to kind of understand if this is as important as it has been historically, or if we expect it to take off or whatever. So yeah, looking about a 50-50 split so far. Okay, let's give it a little bit longer. We're getting there. Definitely urge everyone to give this results, to vote on this one. Okay, I think that's good. Let's end it there and share the results now. So yeah, honestly, very similar breakdown to what we saw for the automation, and that kind of makes sense because really a lot of the scheduled and the scenes are reliant upon having those types of physical automation, Z-Wave types of modules on the system. Okay, cool. So we got a couple other questions here. Let's go on to the next one. That's in regards to the integration with the audio assistants. Now this is something that is a little bit different, a little bit newer. As audio assistants are becoming more pervasive in people's homes, what are people looking at? Do they want a simplified experience, or are they still looking just to have traditional mobile, whether it be a mobile app on their phone, keypad, anything like that? So same thing, we'll give this one about a minute or so, try to get many results as we can. I know personally I'm running Alexa in my house and I drive pretty much everything with it. So I'm a little bit biased for this question. So let's see. Okay, moving along nicely here. Okay, so let's end that one. Let's share the results here. Okay, so for this one, I mean, still people don't see too much more of a transition to have the voice as being the primary integration with the intrusion system or their home automation. Still nice to have. I think a lot of people, the people who do use it, really like to use it. Okay, so we got one more question for you guys, just in regards to thermostat control. So just wanted to see what the importance is of that one. So we'll give this one another minute or so and see what we get. Okay, moving along nicely here. Okay. Okay, so let's stop that one and share it out. So as far as must have and nice to have, the exact same number. I don't think I could have gotten that even if I had planned it. So yeah, I mean, this is just the basic thermostat controls, whether it be an integrated thermostat or whether it be some of the third-party thermostats that more DIY type of solutions. So I mean, really kind of what my takeaway from this is that post-pandemic, the things that people are looking for from an automation perspective, pretty much there's not going to be any expected major changes. Interesting. Okay, great. Well, I thank you for that. That was very helpful. I'm going to hand it back to Curtis.
Thanks, Neil. So in addition to a lot of the features that Neil just mentioned, we know that video is a really critical area of the smart home for consumers and has resultingly seen a lot of the growth in the smart home market. The smart home video market specifically is expected to double between 2018 and 2023. Prior to the pandemic, mid-range cameras have made up the majority of unit sales, while premium cameras are bringing the majority of the revenue. We're curious if that will change after the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic as well, video doorbell sales were, I would say, dominating the video market, with video doorbell sales about double the sales of other cameras. If we could just hop over to the next slide. So one of the questions we have is, for applications using video, which do you feel is more critical, indoor cameras or outdoor cameras? Obviously, indoor cameras are a little more lifestyle focused, where you can watch what's going on within your home, as well as security element, whereas outdoor cameras are much less lifestyle and pretty much only security. So slightly different use cases. Based on the way the results are coming in, it looks like outdoor cameras are prioritized. So I would say, not surprisingly, our customers on this call really value security over lifestyle. Yeah, I'd say we can cut that one off. So definitely a big preference for outdoor cameras here. I'd be curious about whether it's outdoor cameras are more needed, but indoor cameras are still needed, or if it's really more of a split. So moving over to the next slide. I'm sorry. When using outdoor cameras specifically, we're also curious which is more important: outdoor cameras covering your perimeter, or a doorbell camera that you can use to answer your door and see who's at the door. All right, so it looks like the split is still shading toward outdoor here. So again, really a preference for outdoor cameras, not so much on the doorbell camera. All right, I'd say we could cut that one off. So we've got almost a 75% split for outdoor versus doorbell. Moving on to the next slide. So as mentioned, the video doorbell growth was huge prior to the pandemic. We're also curious post-pandemic if you feel that video doorbell growth will continue growing. But we know, of course, that cameras on their own don't provide you with a video solution. There's a lot of software and features that you need on your portal to fill out that video solution. So we've got a couple poll questions coming up about which video features are most important to you. So this one is on the importance of streaming or live video. That could be portal delivered or app delivered, really anywhere that you can stream it. Is that must to have, nice to have, or not important? I would say unsurprisingly, we're almost at 80% must have. I would expect almost 100% on this one, to be honest, because that's really one of the core features of video. All right, let's cut this one off and show the results. So we've got about 70% must have, with the rest nice to have, and unsurprisingly, again, no one is saying that streaming video is not important. Moving on to the next question. So the next one is about video event triggers. This would be where you can maybe trigger a light to come on outside your house, or a garage door to open when you pull into the driveway. Kind of depends on what capabilities the camera has, but really it's automatic event triggers based on what's happening on the video. All right, now let's cut that one off. Looks like we've got a pretty similar, although slightly lower split, about 60% must have, and again, 40% nice to have, with a few saying not important. Moving on to the next question. All right, so here we've got video storage, and this could be a few days, it could be 30 days, it could be indefinite. There's usually different plans available, but we'd like to know what your importance is of video storage. Again, I would expect this one to be pretty close to the 100% must have, or pretty high, with almost no one saying that it's not important. All right, we can cut that one off. So this one again is similar to the first one about streaming video. About 80% must have, about 20% nice to have, and no one saying it's not important. Moving on to the next one. So this one is about video push notifications, and a lot of times this would come with the video itself. So it's a notification with the video coming that could be delivered to the customer's app or by email. Really a good way for homeowners to keep an eye on what's going on in their house or around their house. All right, so let's cut that one off. Again, pretty similar split. 80% nice to have. 80% must have. About 20% nice to have, and everyone clearly thinks it's important, with 0 votes for not important. All right, and then the last question: the importance of video verification. So this would be like a verified dispatch situation where the video is used to verify that there's a real alarm and not a false alarm. This has become increasingly important over the last few years, as a lot of municipalities are mandating this. All right, we can probably cut this one off. This one's got a little different split than some of the other ones, with about 50% must have, 50% nice to have, and again, no one's saying not important. So it's definitely clear that everyone values each of these features, but the split is slightly different on which are most critical. Obviously, with video, one of the things that we haven't talked about is cybersecurity, which is one of the most important aspects. So I'll hand this over to Dwayne, one of the other product managers on our team.
All right, thanks, Chris. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Dwayne Salzman. I'm a senior product manager with the Intrusion division here at Johnson Controls. Thanks everybody for your time today. So we want to talk about cybersecurity, as Curtis mentioned, and obviously even before the pandemic, cybersecurity was already a serious threat across multiple industries, not just our security industry, affecting data breaches affecting finance, transportation, hotel, you name it. Everyone has anyone who's storing data or anything connected to the internet is at risk of cyber threats. And some of those records and data exposure can reach as high as hundreds of millions of records in a singular instance. There was actually a 2019 report done by IBM and the Ponemon Institute estimating that the cost of a data breach can range anywhere between $1.25 million and $8.2 million, with the global average of each exposed record being in the neighborhood of $150. So definitely not insignificant, and that's just the financial side. Obviously, there's other important measures and reasons to measures to take to protect your business against these threats. Protecting the privacy of customer-sensitive information, your employee information, your business information, and also obviously keeping up to date with the ever-evolving local and federal regulations that are coming in. Even with that, you can see that only about 24% of companies are actually optimized on focused on preventing the capabilities or the risk of threats, and instead they're focusing on the detection and containment once it happens. So obviously we can continuously do better. So moving on to the next slide. All right, so all of these factors have obviously placed a much increased pressure on and responsibility on the manufacturers of any product or service to ensure they're taking appropriate measures to protect their customers and their data and their products. So you can see the chart on the left is from a recent survey from Security Sales and Integration, and suggesting the majority of respondents felt that manufacturers were doing a better job. But obviously it's a never-ending battle, and we can always continue to improve that. And with that in mind, one of the things that we've done here at JCI is we have a dedicated team of resources, and their sole responsibility is ensuring that all of our products and services that we offer the appropriate levels of cyber protection, and they're constantly monitoring for new threats that are emerging. We actually have a process where every new product release passes through this independent team within our company to identify any risks, and those feed directly into the design process to ensure that at the end of it, that the product is delivering the most security for all of our customers. So with that, we want to move on. There's a few questions related to cybersecurity we'd love to get your feedback on. So the first one is how important cybersecurity and how much of a role that plays in your product selection process. So when you're out there looking for new products and services to choose, how much is cybersecurity playing a role in that criteria beyond pricing, features, and the like? So we'll give a few seconds here for everyone to get their votes in on that one. All right, I think we got a pretty good distribution, so we can close that poll and show the results. And not surprisingly, with the prevalence of cybersecurity and a lot of the publications and everything, most are heavily favored towards either very important or extremely important in their product selection process. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So this next one is related to how you're approaching your customers in relation to cybersecurity and how actively you promote the cybersecurity aspects of your products, either in your sales pitch or your marketing materials to your customers. All right, I think this one's going pretty overwhelming the way we would expect, so we'll close that one off. And not surprisingly, obviously, the overwhelming majority is actually starting to promote that, and that kind of ties in nicely to the final question here, and maybe a direct result of is how often does cybersecurity become a topic when you're selling or servicing your products to your customers? So this is more to gauge how informed your customers are as they're talking to you about your products and services. We'll give this one a little bit because it's shaking out. There's a pretty big mix here, and I'm sure some of this may vary depending on whether we're talking about residential or commercial applications, and obviously geographic regions. A lot of different factors that play into this one. All right, so we can probably close that one off. So it's interesting results. It's kind of about a 50-50 split with 50% of the time, or the customers are usually bringing that up. So obviously, cybersecurity is becoming more prevalent, and it's obviously going to be a continued area of focus on any new future products that we're designing. But I did want to hand off to Neil to talk about some of the other future focus areas in our new product development. Are you on mute still, Neil, or did we lose you?
I'm not quite sure what happened to Neil's connection, but I'll take this in his absence. So,
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, thanks, Neil.
Okay, that was really weird. I just lost my headset. So I apologize if the voice is a little bit quiet. I'm trying to get as close as I can to the microphone. Okay, so what I was saying is now we get to the really cool stuff, the really fun stuff. It's been important getting a good understanding as far with the previous sets of questions. A lot of it may seem pretty straightforward, but it's really important to understand where everyone thinks they're going to be when we come out of our current situation with the current pandemic.
Okay, so Neil's obviously having a problem here. So I'm not as cool as Neil, but we think that knowing where you're coming out of the pandemic environment, it's really important that you also have a sense of what we've been listening to and where we're moving going forward. So listening to your needs, we've put a strong emphasis on user experience. And we're going to continue to focus strongly on building that experience so that it becomes even more of a seamless transition in our customers' lifestyle. So understanding what you were looking for in your products coming out, understanding where you value services and what features you value become very critical for us as we look at how to deliver the right experience for you and your users. Neil, are you back?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
I just heard you on that one. So why don't you pick up on the MLAI?
Okay, I really apologize for that, guys. I'm not sure what happened. My headset apparently crapped out. Anyway, so yeah, thanks, Jennifer. So yeah, so it's really important to talk about, now that we have a good understanding as far as what you're going to need immediately after we come out of the pandemic, but moving on towards what we're looking at more long term. So there's several things that we want to start focusing on as we start to develop our products and work with our partners to start evolving some of the services. We really want to start focusing on things like user experience. So the voice assistant integration, improving the mobile app interface, those kind of functionality. Really want to see what are customers looking for, what are they trending towards, so that we can make sure we're working on the right things for that user experience, because ultimately that is what it's all about. Some of the other things, we want to start focusing on is like machine learning, artificial intelligence, things like, so we can start looking at the various, the data that we do get and be able to actually do something with it. False alarms, as we all know, has been has been the #1 issue we've had for, well, really since the beginning of our industry. So how can we look at reducing false alarms based off of, customer behaviors, things like that? And then, as I mentioned earlier, that user interface expanding beyond kind of a, boring traditional keypad, looking at voice control, mobile app control. How can we work with our partners and work on improving that overall customer experience? So we do have a couple of questions we want to ask you guys in regards to, what do you see as next? Not just immediately after the pandemic, but really what comes after that. So we put a list together of some of the things that we think that customers would be looking at. So we're going to be asking you guys, out of at least those 5 right there, what do you think are the most what do you think that your customers are going to be looking for? You can select multiple ones of them. They could all be important. They could some be important. Let's see. So we'll give this one about a minute or so. Hopefully we can drive the responses up over 50%. A little bit slower than before, but let's go. Oh, there we go. All right. Moving along. A little bit of a tougher question. This is what's next, really. Okay, so let's close the poll and share the responses. There we go. All right, beautiful. So looking at this, I mean, really it's almost consistent right across the board. One of the big concerns we've had, well, forever, is really the connectivity. As we went from 2G to 3G to 4G, making sure that we're staying in front of the next generation connectivity. So not necessarily what's happening now, but what's happening, next. So that's obviously a huge focal point. And then really, I mean, everything else, machine learning, that's important. Facial recognition, that's important. And human presence, a little bit less important. So this good stuff. This is super helpful. This really allows us to start looking at, what you guys are looking for, after, we come out of the current situation everyone really in the world finds themselves in. So I really appreciate this. This is more helpful than probably anyone really understands. And having said that, I will turn it back over to Jennifer.
Okay, thanks, Neil. And obviously we have to get Neil's headset fixed. He won't be able to play his games online when he's home if he doesn't have a working microphone, and I'm sure that is actually his concern. So
Thanks.
we are coming to the end. There was a question asked on the side about how many people have been included in this, so you have an idea of impact. We had over 80 people join today. Not everyone participated, so in every question. So I would say it's safe to say that the answers were in the 60 to 70% attendee rate, response rate of the people that answered. And that goes along with the question, are we going to distribute? And we're happy to present the files and incorporate these poll results in and send those out. So we'll need a few days to do so. We may actually need a week to do so. We have a number of planned timed off right now. So I'm not quite sure how quickly we can get it all done, but we'll get it out to you if you're on today. If you need it sooner than what you receive, if you're working on something with an immediate need right now, if you send me a question or contact your local sales person, they know how to reach all, myself, Neil, Dwayne, and Curtis, and any of us can respond to them very, as quickly as possible. So when they're working, are there any other additional questions that somebody would like to raise or to write into the response here? We do have a couple of minutes. We tried to leave a few minutes early so that we could do this. Yeah, I'm not seeing any hands raised or any questions. So in the time that we had today, we shared a little of what we saw coming into the last month. We received and heard your opinions, and we shared a glimpse at some of the technologies where we're looking moving forward. I shared at the opening that we're going to be engaging in more events like this, and we look forward to sharing more, listening more, and learning together. In fact, our starting a regular cadence of these events, we actually have one next Wednesday, April 15th, where we're going to be focusing on the next version of the Power Series Pro panel, which is being launched at the end of April. Look in your inbox for an invitation, talk to your sales leaders, or you can always reach out to one of us if you have any specific questions. Let me just ask, are there plans to use UWB? The answer is our innovation team is looking at all kinds of technology, from the ultra wide band to the mesh to narrow band over IoT. So we're looking at a lot of different kinds of technologies. So right now, not quite sure what's going to make the most sense, have the cost benefits that we need to look at. We do recognize that the ability for the spatial, the attractiveness of ultra wideband, for those that don't understand, is that if you're using a device that has this, it recognizes surroundings and objects in that space. And this is something, there are other ways of accomplishing that end result. So we're looking at that motion awareness or presence detection. That was actually one of the elements in the emerging technologies. So how we enable those features is under a lot of investigation right now. So, but I'll definitely bring up that somebody was asking specifically about the UWB, so that the innovation team knows there was a specific question. So again, I was talking about the April 15th Power Series Pro webinar. We hope to see you on it. And if I don't see any other questions coming in, and I don't, before we go, I want to thank my team, Neil, Dwayne, and Curtis. Were a wonderful help today. Behind the scenes, there was a key member of our product marketing team, Anna Sparber, as well as several members of our marketing team who were in the background of this. Anna was responsible for what I call herding our cats to bring all the content together. So I'm giving her a high five and a quick shout out from a safe physical distance environment. And as I say goodbye, I'd like to say two things. First, please know we are listening. If we can help you during these times, if you have questions or need information, please let us know. We are here and we are operating and really want to help you and your businesses succeed. And second, and most importantly, as we say goodbye, please stay safe. You matter to us. You matter to a lot of people in your life, and your safety is of the priority concern for everyone. So we look forward to seeing you next week. We look forward to seeing you following as we build more of these events, and we'll have more conversations with everyone. So thank you very much. Have a good day.